Hey family, what is up and welcome to my YouTube channel. And for the first time ever, I cannot shout because I have a child now. By the grace of God, we actually overcame. By the grace of God, my husband and I are now parents to the most amazing, handsome, disciplined little child. And every time I look at him, I'm like, oh my God, this is truly the grace and the mercy of God. Now, that being said, I am so excited to actually share with you my testimony of the whole pregnancy up until the day we got to hold our child in our hands, because that was one of the most difficult things I've ever had to do in my life. It was physically taxing, and for someone who was never ever sick before getting pregnant, this was like the most emotionally, physically exhausting thing I've ever done in my life. And I was just thinking the other day that, like, if I never have to do anything else in life that is hard, I've already done. Like, I've really contributed to the kingdom of God by actually making real disciples. Okay, that aside, so I'm just going to try and share a little bit of my story about the pregnancy journey. Like I said, it was not easy for me. I got into this journey like expecting something easy and soft, something that was flawless and, just cruise in it and all of that. But as for me, my journey was actually not that easy. It took a lot of crying, a lot of pain, a lot of all of that. But at the end of the day, God has been so good to me. But anyway, let's jump into it. I remember like the day I was like, I'm now probably pregnant. Like, I just woke up and there was so much pain in my stomach. And that day I like started craving specifically the Baker's Inn quarter. Not only the Baker's Inn quarter, but also like the Baker's Inn hot dog. Only that. I didn't want anything else but that. Then that's when I was like, I think I should like get into town and get a pregnancy test. And I actually surprised my husband, which was very, very sweet, because the pregnancy test was like, oh, you should do it maybe early in the morning so that, like, you use the urine that you'd have kept overnight. So I did exactly that, got the test, and oh my God, we're now having a baby. And I'd also bought like this little clothes, and I didn't know the gender, but at that point that was the only set of clothes that I found in that particular shop. So I then show my husband to say, okay, guess what, this is it, that kind of thing. So he was very excited, and it's like, we thank God, what. Fast forward, now it's like the moment I knew and confirmed the pregnancy, I started falling sick. Oh my goodness. I remember like the nausea, the breathlessness, and some people will say that all of these are normal, but for me it felt like, oh my goodness, mine, like everything that I was going through was a bit amplified, and I can't explain how, but it was just a bit more difficult for me. And I know that for some people it's been a cruise and all of that, but for me it just felt like, oh my goodness, I'm really going through the most right now. So one of the most difficult things during the pregnancy was like I suffered from severe breast pain, where the gynecologist that we're working with literally said, I think you have referred pain, where it's like your body is in pain, but finds one particular spot where you feel all of the pain, like in one spot that you could be feeling in the rest of your body. So it was so painful. My left breast was super, super painful. I constantly felt like a hole was being drilled into my breast. I constantly felt like, oh my goodness, this is never going to end. It would keep me up at night. I would just cry because it was so painful. And the sad part is that it was a consistent pain. It was like every single day I'm feeling the pain. So it would strain my muscles. Now you can tell that my back is now also painful due to the pain that I'm feeling in the breast. It was now pulling all of my muscles. So it was so difficult. I barely slept for some days. we then bought deep heat. It was a bit better, but as soon as that subsides, then you can't do anything. And sadly, when you're pregnant, you can't really use a lot of painkillers. Like, you're really limited to paracetamol, and you shouldn't take it as often as you actually think you can. So I was on very, very limited painkillers, but it was like a constant pain. Like, only my husband can really testify of how painful it was. It was just something else. Like, this video is just making it seem a bit less painful, but it was really, really painful. Then the back pain as well, as a result of that breast. I would, my back would be hurting so much. And now I had this migraine headaches, like at the end of the first trimester, if I'm not mistaken. Then I would just cry because like my head would be pounding. I can't talk. Talking is so difficult. And now at the end of the day, you just find tears flowing, and you can't explain with it why exactly am I crying. But it was just super painful. Like, oh my God, even now thinking about it, I'm like, thank you, Lord. Like, I managed to overcome. I don't think, like, I'm just so thankful that I'm on the other side, because, like, it was just painful. At that point, you don't know what to treat first. It's like your skin is itchy, your head is aching, your back is aching, your breast is aching, and you don't really know. Like, is this how pregnancy is supposed to feel like? Because like I watched other people like just cruising through pregnancy, then there I was. So I remember one day saying to my husband, like, am I going to be able to breastfeed our son if this breast is this painful even before the child is come? Is milk going to come out of that breast? But by the grace of God, that same breast is like truly breastfeeding our son even now. And I'm like, God, I'm so thankful. But at that point, I just felt like God had neglected me. I remember praying one day and saying, but Lord, I'm also just your child. Like, in the total 1 hour in your marriage. But it feels like you have really neglected me and just left me like that. I don't think anyone has gone through this much pain on a daily basis. Like, it's just so painful. Every single day there's this, there's that. Guys. So, and then from there, I was now unable to walk due to pain in my hip. Like, I would just lie on the ground, unable to move, unable to say anything or do anything because of excruciating pain. Like, now at that point, I'm like pressed or something, but I can't do anything. I can't move. And then my pelvis started hurting. Now my husband had to turn me in the bed, or if I'm seated, he had to assist me. Like, my husband had to stay at home with me because, like, you just didn't know what was going to happen on that day. And I remember reaching out to a friend and just saying, oh God, I'm so sorry. I haven't been a good friend because, like, I've just been so sick. She was also pregnant at the same time. But at that time, I was like, I'm so sorry, I've been so sick, and I haven't wanted to, like, spread negative energy to you because of the fact that my pregnancy has been so difficult. So I just distanced myself from everyone because everyone is like enjoying their life, they're going out and stuff like that. And the best I could do was literally go out on Sundays when I'm going to church. Otherwise, during the week, I'd be like preserving energy for Sunday. And then people are like, oh, I'm exercising, oh, I'm working out. And my body was just so weak at that point. So at that time, like, my husband had now decided that I was not supposed to do anything besides walking, eating, sleeping, and bathing. And the greater part of the times he had to bath me, like literally good only guesses almost every single, like that man, God willing, like I want to love him, I want to serve him, I want him to really know that I could not have chosen a better partner for myself. He really cared for me in a way that I can't explain. And if anything, I know that I'm really loved by my husband. Even if the rest of the world is like, oh, we don't care about you. But I know that I have someone in my corner. I could not have chosen a better partner for myself. God literally created that man for me. So patient, never compared me with other women to say, oh, but other women have done this or whatever. I just accepted the situation as it was. Like, may God just bless him for me. He would bath me, literally dress me on days when I was in excruciating pain, couldn't lift my own body. He would lift me, he would change me, he would, oh God. It was one of the seasons where you really see that, when people are celebrating their anniversaries, it's always like, my 2 minutes, it's been glorious. But the thing is, people would never really share what they've gone through for them to over celebrate their anniversaries. Like when people are sharing their testimonies, you don't know what they've been through. So for us to they judge people, why are they celebrating this in this way? We don't understand. And when people are honoring their partners, when people are saying they're choosing to be faithful, they know what they've been through. And in as much as I'm trying to express what we actually went through, this is not even an eighth of what we actually went through on a day-to-day basis. And God forbid I don't honor my husband. God forbid I don't love him. God forbid I don't show up for him. God forbid I don't love him. Because, like God knows, we'll try to summarize in a 10-minute video, but we lived 10 months of just that much pain. And then later on, it was discovered that I had gastritis. So it was like on my right side. At first, the gynae thought that I probably had gallstones or whatever, only to find out I had gastritis. But unfortunately, that gastritis, I could not move. I had these extreme sharp pains. I could not move. I could just sway to the left and to the right. I didn't know what to do. It was like to my husband, let's just go and see the gynae because I can't sleep, I can't move, I can't do anything. It was like a sharp pain, as if like a knife is being pierced through my belly every single time. Then from the gastritis, this one was shocking. One day now I had sharp pains on my left side, and at least on the right side, it's because it's not where the baby will be. The baby will be on the left side of the belly. Now that was a cause for concern. Only for us in the previous month, it was not recognized that I had developed fibroids. In fact, we were seeing the scans every single time, but all of a sudden, boom, there was this fibroid. And unfortunately, that fibroid was now going through what they call red degeneration, where a fibroid no longer has enough blood supply, so it begins to shrink. But when you're pregnant, the shrinking actually is the one that causes you to fall sick. My God. Once again, I could not move, I could not talk, I could not do anything. I just cried, I just wept. To the extent that that one was a difficult one, and I had to get even better painkillers. And the guy was like, "Hey, unfortunately, if this keeps going, and the paracetamol or this other medication they gave me, if it didn't work, then I would probably have to be on bed rest for the rest of the, pregnancy, or on drip, or to be admitted, or whatever the case is." Once again, by God's grace, our son, by God's grace, had nothing wrong with him at that time. Not only so, he was flourishing. He was growing. It's like everything was attacking me. All the illnesses, all the sicknesses. So at that point, I was just grateful that our son was alive. And at that point already, the gynecologist was saying, your situation is very, very complicated. Not that there's anything wrong with the gynecologist or whatever, but it was like, it was constant negative news, constant negative news. Oh, this is wrong. Next time, this is wrong. Oh, next time, that is wrong. And at that point, she was already suggesting a C-section because that was the painful fibroid, but I had like 2 other fibroids. And thank God, we have a doctor at our church. So she was like to me, you know what? It doesn't even matter if you've got fibroids. There are many people that have fibroids but give birth naturally. So you don't have to worry about that. Not that a C-section is bad, but personally, I just believe that that should be the last option that I should have, like, all things being equal. So by God's grace, yes, but it was so bad because I think one of the things that made me to continue to be sick is also the fact that every single time there's a negative report, negative report, negative report. Then from there, now all I could do was cry. Like, guys, I've never cried as much as I did during this pregnancy. And I just want to thank God for our church, because that's one thing that kept me going despite the difficulties that I was going through. But at least I was sure that, like, on Sunday I would get a boost, or when I would go see my mother, I would feel a boost of energy, of just hope in life. Because if not for that, and for the love of my husband, I don't think I would have made it. I don't think I would even be here today. I'm sure the devil was after my life, because now I'm starting to think, like, God, where are you? You've done supernatural pregnancies for other people. Like, at this point, am I even going to be a good mother to my son? Am I going to be able to push? Am I going to be able to be present for him? Those were all the questions now that I was asking myself, because it didn't make any sense. Like, how was I going through all of this? I could not comprehend it. So sometimes insomnia would not just kick in. I can't sleep. I'm thinking, what is wrong with me? And it was like the devil was just after now, not just the physical health, but the mental health as well. And my husband tried to be like, don't worry about it, you breastfeed our son, everything will be okay. And it was one of the most painful seasons of my life ever. So from there, I then had what's called carpal tunnel syndrome, where my hands were extremely hurting. Like, I couldn't, like, to even comb my hair or whatever, my hands were hurting, or to hold a spoon or whatever the case was. And then I just struggled through it until it eventually just disappeared. And now talk about going from being emotionally on 100 to 0 real fast. The unending fatigue, inability to grasp. This is definitely one of the things I struggled with, especially in the first trimester, where I'm like a 12-time author, and then suddenly in the first trimester I can't even recall scripture. I can't grasp. I'm trying to learn or understand something, but then my mind is just stuck. I can't understand anything. And now I'm left thinking, what is actually wrong with me? What's wrong with me? I can't grasp anything. Now I started feeling dumb, feeling daft, feeling like I'm stupid, like, what happened to me? And I remember in that stage feeling like, oh my God, is this child even a blessing? Like, if he's come just to take and take and take. Yeah. I don't know, guys. I just went through like so much thinking and so much. And then now I look at my body. By God's grace, this is like a week after the delivery of our son, and my neck is like way less black than it was, just like black, right? So I'm like so much better, but like all the body changes, it was really a lot for me, because now it just felt like the child was a curse. I remember one day my husband said to me, if there was like an angel who was passing through homes, he would probably pass over and think that you're not happy or excited that we're having a child. And at that point, that's when I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize just how much I had hated the idea of this having a child, if this child was bringing so much sorrow to me. So at that point, I started repenting, and throughout the first trimester and stuff, I was not feeling any connection to the baby. It was more like a burden to me than it was actually feeling like a blessing. But by God's grace, the moment that I started seeing the flutters, those little ones, I'll be like to my husband, can you come and see? Do you see it? At that point now, I actually started to feel the connection with our child, that by the time I was born, we loved each other, and I was so excited to meet him. I was just excited to be on the other side. And God was kind and merciful to actually give us that. So at some point, I also felt disappointed in God after all of those testimonies about supernatural birth and supernatural pregnancy. I feel like, oh God, He had left me. And how come other people had been so blessed in that regard, but then there was me? Nothing. That did not work for me. And I felt like, oh God, where are the chosen ones that have it easy, But by God's grace, obviously, we're here today. Yeah, that was like, the whole pregnancy in 20 minutes. But now I'm going to share the labor part of this. Good. Yeah. So I remember my husband like, oh, we believe in God for a natural birth, a vaginal delivery. And at some point, he was like, oh, let's come up with a birth plan. I was like, honestly, at this point, I faced so much disappointment. So, to be honest, I don't want to disappoint myself even more by having any expectations because I've been so disappointed over and over again. So, I'm sorry, I'll not be able to participate in having a birth plan because there's so many things I planned. I thought I would be slaying throughout. Thank God, by God's grace, like, yes, I did. On Sundays, I could still wear heels. I ate well. There were so many things that were actually really, really good about my pregnancy. But to be very honest, it's like the sad things overshadowed the good ones because it felt like I could count the good ones, but I could not count the sad ones. Like I said, 10 months, because our son was then born at 40 weeks, 1 day. So now, it was now Sunday, 1 February. Saturday, 31 January, when I started having contractions. And these contractions were like, they were not properly timed. So it was like here and there, long times apart. So for me, because I'd been in so much pain, I was like, I'm not really sure these are contractions. I'm not sure because I can't even differentiate. I've had this lower belly pain for a greater part of my pregnancy. So I can't really say, this is a pregnancy thing going on, So at that point, I was just like, let me see how it goes. Yeah. Now around 10 p.m. on that 31 January, 31, and then it was now 1 February. So now the contractions were getting strong. So one of the things my husband had taught me throughout the pregnancy was that when it gets too painful, I should soak in warm water. So now it was too painful. At 2 a.m., I'm like to my husband, I'm sorry, I've tried, but it's been so painful. I'm going to soak right now at 2 a.m. I went for that soak. That was on Sunday at 2 a.m. in the morning. I went for that soak. I soaked, felt kind of better. Then afterwards, I could not go back to bed, so I went to sleep on the couch. Now these contractions were 9 minutes apart, according to my husband, because at that point I wasn't even tracking. 9 minutes apart, I could not move. I could not. Then my husband made a decision that now he was going to call my mom so that she can come. And because somehow my mom actually, she's a safe space, a safe place for me. So he knew that calling her at that point would actually bring some sort of calm. So at around 11 a.m. on 1 February, the contractions just stopped. I'm like, okay, I actually feel better. And I managed to sleep through that. And I think by 12, my mom had arrived. And, somehow I had known our child was coming in that particular week. But also at the same time, it was like, God, I thought this child would come at 38 weeks because I was already tired. But shockingly also, like, my third trimester was way better than my first trimester and so forth. Because first trimester, I was struggling with a lot of things, guys. Like sex was the last thing on my mind. The talk about the vaginal dryness and all of that. And my husband was so kind towards me, to be very honest. It's like a lot of things happened that I didn't expect. Like sex was like, oh my goodness. But third trimester, I was like, yeah. baby, that kind of thing. And God was kind in that way that I actually felt a bit of energy in that last trimester compared to the first and second trimester. Like my third trimester, I laughed a lot more. I enjoyed a lot more. I actually slept a lot more, as if God was preparing and preserving my energy for the labor day. So after some time, my mom was like, you know what, let's go walk outside. My husband's like, no, let's go to a park so that we can take a walk and blah, blah, blah. So we went, we actually took a walk, and it was so calm, so reassuring, like, you know what, God is with us, and chabuti. Afterwards, we went, got our pies, our juices, ate, and all of that. So at that point, we'd already been traveling with our bags, like maternity bags from like 36 weeks. So at that point, my husband and my mom are like, no, we should take you to hospital at this point. And we just believe that, God will come through. And my husband, to be honest, just wanted this child to be born in February because he's like born on the 12th of February and I'm born on the 21st. So he wanted the child to be born in February. But personally, I was like, I don't care. So long this person comes out of my body. So even January was okay. But at that point, we're like, it's already February. So any day that it comes is okay. But anyway, we traveled to this to the hospital that we chose. It was a hospital that's very, very, very far away from our home. Like, look, it takes an hour to get there after all of the traffic and all of that. And we chose that because that's where we felt peace. There were so many hospitals where we could have gone to. But to be very honest, we didn't have peace about it. The same way that at some point, my husband and I were like, hey, you know what? We don't even have peace about continuing with the gynecologist that we're working with. Not that anything is wrong or whatever the case is, but we just felt like the gynae wasn't the right fit for us and wasn't boosting our faith or encouraging us in the way that we needed, especially as a couple that's having a child for the first time. We needed all the encouragement that we could get, but at that point, we didn't have that. And to go back just a little, after having booked with that hospital, they then did these tests so that we would be able to give birth at that hospital where they do a full blood test, only for it to be found out that I had low platelets. They're supposed to be 160, but I had 143. And these platelets, according to the doctors, it's like a blood thing where it enables that your blood doesn't clot quickly or whatever when you're giving birth. So suddenly the midwives are like, unfortunately we have to escalate your issue so that a gynae takes over from this point. And then I called my spiritual mom. I'm like, this is what they've said. And quickly she referred us to a certain doctor. So this doctor only assisted us once. He was a male doctor, and initially, mind you, we didn't want a male doctor because, well, but this doctor then assisted, gave me medication. So we just met him once, but after that consultation, I asked him if for his card so that in case we needed help, would be able to reach out to him. I was like, cool, that's okay. Now we get to the hospital. So the midwife then says, what has happened, And then I was like, my mucus plug broke, right? She was like, I see. Okay. So she says to my husband, if a mucus plug is broken, you can go to the car and get a bag and etc. At that point, she checks me and says, you're 1 centimeter. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I can't be 1 centimeter after all of that pain that I've gone through. Because literally the past night I just been and now I could feel that I didn't even have much energy. And for me to eat solid food, it was already very, very difficult at that point, right? So I was basically drinking fluids. And thank God for traditional. Like it's my, I don't know what you call it in English, right? It's like malt point. That was all I could take just for energy because I could not chew. like chewing was like so difficult. And then I remember, like, since I got married, that was the first time I was ever separated from my husband. And oh my goodness, that felt so difficult too, because husbands were allowed like from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So we only checked in at 8 p.m. And that's when at 8 p.m. they were like, yeah, 1 centimeter. And now I'm going through the night. Could I sleep? It was so difficult. And I remember just picking up a cotton pad and this packet of gloves, and I would squeeze them so hard, because now it was because the midwife was like, unfortunately, if you keep making sounds, your womb will actually get swollen, so you're complicating things for yourself, so don't make any sounds. So go marry. Oh god, it's like everything that they tell you to do, you want to do it. So at that point, I'm like holding like, because I can't, like. And then sometimes I'll be like, oh Lord, sometimes I'll be like, because now at the point I just needed to survive. So that happened throughout the night. For me to even turn, it was so difficult. And at that point they were like, unfortunately the baby is not yet engaged. Engaged meaning that they're not yet in the birth canal. That was number one. Can you imagine, with all of that pain that I was feeling, but the baby was not yet in the birth canal. It was like his head was down, but at the same time he was not in the place where he's supposed to come out through, right? Then his heart rate was a bit fast. Not only was it a bit fast, but my BP had also gone high, despite the fact that throughout the antenatal visits, everything had been perfect. So, like, there were so many reasons why things could have gone sour for me. So at that point now, I've labored through the night. And guys, time does not move when it's really time for labor, to be honest. It does not move. You look at the clock, you're like, what? That felt like 24 hours, and it was just 30 minutes. I'm like, Lord, where's my husband at this point? Like, I just need some support, or whatever the case is. It was one of the most difficult nights of my life. Then suddenly it was 5 a.m. and then I'm woken up like, oh, you can go to bath. And once again, remember what my husband had taught me. So I then get into the bathroom, I sit, and then now I take a dish, and now every time I have a contraction, I'm pouring warm water onto myself, and that made me feel better. So for like a good 1 hour, that's what I was doing. With every contraction, I'll just pour the hot water on myself. I was like, oh Lord, life away from my family is one thing that I'm not absolutely interested in. Because what? At least if I had someone to at least massage my back or whatever. But that was one moment where it's like, I've no one, Lord, except you. Not that my family has neglected me, but it is what it is. So around 6 a.m., they then check me again for the centimeters. This is now on 2 February. Oh God. It's still 1 centimeter. My God. It's still 1 centimeter. I told my husband, I texted him, I'm like, they've said I'm still 1 centimeter. Like, can you imagine, like, after all of that laboring for basically 2 days? Oh, God. Maybe 3 days, actually, from Saturday, because Saturday, Sunday, now this was Monday. And I'm in labor, but I'm still at 1 centimeter. That was heartbreaking. So the midwife was on duty, now goes out, then others, I'm given food, like it was porridge. So I managed to eat that porridge, and my husband by then was there and he fed me. But it was just like, oh Lord, because now I was feeling lower belly pain. By God's grace, I didn't get to feel the back pain that most people feel, but I felt the lower back pain, and that was excruciating in its own, right? So it was very extremely excruciating. And then he assisted me to eat. And then he said to me, no, listen, don't listen to what they're saying about the centimeters. God is able to do something great. And now I could tell my husband also just wanted to cry. No, like, you can't help me. You can't feel the pain on my behalf. God, I can't feel the pain on my behalf, but you could tell he wants to be there for me. So at that point, my mom, my husband, like my aunt and uncle had woken up, gone into church at around 5 and prayed for me, because like my mom had just dreamed the Lord saying to them they should go into the church and pray for me. So they did that. And then my husband was just like, listen, calm down, all will be well with you. But the midwife then said, you know what, please call the gynecologist so that they can help you. So initially my husband had talked to the gynae, and the gynae was like, no, I'll come at 1. Remember that gynae whom we had just worked with once? He was like, I'll come at 1. But then he then called the midwives from the hospital that I was at. And after they explained, he was like, oh my God, that's such an emergency. So let me come right now. He came at 11. And then he checked me. And it's like, she's actually 7 centimeters dilated. From 1 to 7, guys, it's from 6 to 11. I dilated like by 6 more centimeters. And he asked, okay, is there anyone in the labor room right now? And the midwives were like, no, there's no one. Then it's like, let's go right now. And at that point, I was just happy to be leaving that room and knowing that I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm ready to get this child out, because I was now tired. I was hungry, but I couldn't eat. I couldn't do anything. So afterwards, we walk, and then my husband is told what to get me, 1 set of clothes for the baby and for me, and etc. Hey, we get to the labor room, and then the doctor says, now we put on a drip of oxytocin or pitocin. I don't know. My husband is not here, so probably when he listens to this, he'll be like, you left that detail. But that's what I remember, because honestly, I don't quite remember everything. It was quite an interesting experience that I'm sure would have different perspectives on things, but this is my POV. I'm sure you would say it differently. At that point, my husband is just saying, let's pray under our breath and all of that. And, he had sent me a message saying, I'm so proud of you. Thank you for doing this for our child and, showing up for us. You've been so good to me. And, if anything, you've loved me and you've carried our son and etc. And honestly, that message strengthened me even in the time where I was going through a lot. Just seeing that he actually appreciates, because I feel like there are many things I could do, but that one is like the number one thing I could do in my contribution to humanity. And the fact that he honored that really meant a lot to me. So, like, that's a better contribution to me compared to ministry, honestly, because my life was on the line, truly. So at that point, the contractions were now getting closer and closer. And then, now I was just, oh Lord, this is so difficult. So Doc and the midwives gave me, a few minutes, right? And then it's like, let me check you now. He was like, as soon as you feel like pooping, please let me know. So I then started feeling like pooping. And at that point, he said it's 9 centimeters. I'm like, oh, okay. That's a bit better. But 9 centimeters with the weight that I'm feeling, so, like, it's like, hey, Lord, my whole body is just going through a lot. I remember at that point holding my husband's shirt, holding his bum. It was a lot. Holding the hospital bed, just trying to exert the pain somewhere else. And I remember by God's grace just being like, Lord, no matter what happens, I don't want to bite. no matter what happens, I don't want to bite my husband. Neither do I want to beat him. And by God's grace, I actually successfully managed to do that. So now he says, now you're 10 centimeters dilated. Now you're 10 centimeters dilated. So now they all start getting ready, like, oh, now work is about to start. Yeah. The doctor says, whenever you feel a contraction, tell us so that we'll help you with pulling your legs backward, because I gave birth while lying down. So we'll pull your legs backward, and then you are supposed to push as much as you can. So at that point, he was like, oh, now you not only need 10 centimeters, but your cervix needs to be effaced. So it's actually two things, not just the 10 centimeters, but my cervix needs to be thin enough to actually allow for the baby to come out. So the first time I was like, it's not yet fully effaced, but it's after some time it's like, yeah. So the baby will come out. And then he had hope. Even the midwives had hope. And in fact, they were just encouraging me throughout, like, oh, it's nice. So at that point, like, my husband is holding one leg, and now I'm so tired. I'm like calling on the name of the Lord. Why didn't the bad say, oh, Lord, help me. Lord, help me. I can't do this for myself. And at some point, I'm like, Minana Mwanangu, like, our child is called Minana Consolata Madzima, which basically means the miracles of God, or we will see the miracles of God. At that point, I'm like, Minana Wanangu, just cooperate. Help me. Please help me as your mother. I no longer have strength. I'm like to my husband, please pray for me. I don't know. I don't have the energy anymore. Either oxytocin or pitocin, I don't know which one, that had been injected into me. I began to feel hot and cold, low-key at the same time, like a fever. So instantly, I'm feeling cold, but then instantly again, I'm feeling hot. So now my husband had the responsibility. I'm like, now I'm feeling cold. Then he gives me, now I'm feeling hot. Then he takes a towel and, ensures that my whole body is cooled down. I remember at some point they gave me cold water just for energy, because at that point I was feeling so hot. I didn't know what to do. God. Labor. Yeah. And at that point, I felt like I actually understand when people say they go mad or they've gone mad when they were giving birth. I met this lady some months ago, was like, there's 2 times she has given birth. She has actually gone mad, like gone into a mental institution, and her mother has had to like take care of her babies and just bring them for feeding, and then she'll go back home with them. So for the first few months of each of her babies' lives, she was not present. In that very moment, I remember that. I'm like, it's actually possible for you to lose your mind, because at that point, I didn't know how to control my body. I didn't know what to say, what to do. At that time, the doctor is like, you should push like someone who has constipation from guavas. It's a gomera. Say, I guava over constipation. And I'm thinking, this is the best that I'm doing. So initially, I would be like, making sounds, and they're like, you making a sound is not what actually brings the baby. You should push in silence. So breathe in through your nose, but don't breathe out through your mouth. Breathe out through your vagina. Yeah. My only advice for people who want to give birth or have children is to do breathing techniques. I don't even know about trying to induce using dates and whatnot. That I can't say. But breathing techniques are so important, because throughout that whole labor, the only thing that kept me going was the ability to actually breathe. Just breathing was so important, because in the initial stages of labor, my husband would be trying to say, breathe in and breathe out. I could not even breathe in at that point. Like, I was just going, that's the best that I could do. But that's one thing that, probably if I had done better, I would be in a much better place. But either way, labor is unknown to human beings. So, at that time, my husband is encouraging. He's like, I'm super proud of you. Thank you so much for doing this for us. I love you so much. It is. Oh, that's my baby crying now. I don't even know when so many people got into the room. And now the other midwife I'd been working with and the other nurses I've been working with are now also in the room just encouraging me. Let's go, Conso. You can absolutely do it, Conso. Let's go. Keep pushing. Don't worry. You're almost there. And now the guy says, you know what? There's a part. Okay, there's this thing that they call stations like -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. So -3 is like at the very top where the baby would be, -2, and so forth. So the 0 part and the 1 part are like the most closest parts of your birth canal. So once the baby is past that, then the baby is able to come out, because already you would have stretched the birth canal. So at that point, doc says, he has actually passed the station 0 and station 1. So guess what? Very soon our baby will be here. Only for them to realize that there was a cord around my baby's neck. Can you imagine? There was a cord around my baby's neck. And at that point, I remember my husband said, you know what? Maybe we should get a scan in like the 39th week. And then I was like, honestly, at this point, I'm tired of scans, because like every time we get a scan, there's always a negative report. Because even with the platelets, the first test was 143 out of 60. And the next time we went, it had actually dropped to 120. So at that point, I was just like, hey, you know what? I'm no longer interested in getting a scan. And truly, if we had gotten a scan, trust me, we would have been asked to get a C-section, because at that point, my heart rate, my BP was high. Baby's heart rate was high as well. And now the midwife kept checking the babies. And for them to even check the baby's heart rate, to check if they were not failing to, if our son was not failing to breathe, that felt like, they're taking so much from me. That is so difficult. And now the guy is like, listen, don't listen to the pain in this moment, because the more you listen and follow the pain, the more painful it actually is. The only thing that's going to heal you is for the child to come out. Yes, baby. Good. Now I'm like, Lord, I've come to the end of myself. I've really come to the end of myself. So from this point, please don't mind if you hear sucking sounds. That's my child that's breastfeeding. Yes, this is not the era we're in. So at that point, it's like, okay, so I'm pushing, but the baby is going backward because the cord is now small and it's around his neck. So it's pulling him back. Despite me actually pushing, it's not helping because it's shorter than it's supposed to be. So the baby keeps going back despite the effort that I'm making to actually push. So the first time, now the midwife is like, let me assist you. So what I'm basically going to do is physically push the baby out. Good. Do you know that thing when you're kneading dough, like when you want to make a pizza? That's what she was doing, but to my belly, like, rubbing my belly so much. And at that point, they realize, oh no, this child is also not only do they have a cord around their neck, but the child is big. Because the normal size or the expected size is, I think, between 2.5 kgs to 2.8 or something. And our child was 3.97. So almost basically 4 kgs. And now the gynae is like, listen, at this point, we have to use a vacuum. So now I am pushing, the midwife is pushing, and the vacuum as well. So the first vacuum, I think, was a bit big. And now they were literally causing irritation on my stomach because that would lead to a contraction. And now they're like, let's leave her just for a bit to rest. That's when I was given the water and etc. I rested just for a bit. Vacated. Now they're like, Conso, you have to push because it's almost an hour since you've been in here. They started, saying, you've got this, you're almost there. And I think my husband just checked a bit to actually see if these doctors were being honest that the baby's head, they could now see. Because now at that point, the doctor would literally hold and then be like, I can actually feel the baby's head. Don't give up now. You're almost there. Really. Trust me, you're almost there. So it's the first time I pushed, and then it was like, it's like, don't worry about poop coming out. That doesn't matter. When that poop comes out, most likely that's when the baby will come out. So the first time I did, but it was just a little. The second time now, then the baby came out. But at that point, I didn't even understand what was happening. I started then, because now my body was literally so weak. They gave me the baby, and the baby almost fell. The baby almost fell. And when I held my baby, I wept. I said, Lord, thank you. Thank you that you didn't leave me. Because during the pregnancy, during the pushing, I'd been like, Lord, I have no one. I have no one else to help me in this moment but you. Yay! I have no one else to help me but you. Only you can help me. Only you can redeem me in this moment. I need you, Lord. So, I wept. And then now my husband was given permission to hold the child and cut the umbilical cord. At that point, the doctor said, we need to stitch you. And once again, now I need to get I don't know what you call it, that thing that gives cramp or chiwewe, so that I don't feel pain. He did, but still, at that point I could feel it, but there was joy in knowing that at least my child is here. So I get stitched, and then they take care of me, what. Then they leave me just for a bit. And then now I'm like to my husband, I now need to bath. Now as he's taking me to the bathtub with the help of an assistant, I just passed out. Like I fainted, or I don't know, like died. I don't know, guys, for like a few minutes or seconds. I asked my husband how much time that was. He said it was about 20 seconds because I just felt weakness in my knees. And then the next thing, I don't remember what happened. In a few seconds, like he says, I could now hear my husband continually calling my name. Conso. He's a first aider, so I'm guessing that's like a survival trick that they do. But at that point, I wake up, and then now I'm like, please get me Puko so that I can revitalize my body. And my mom was like, I was waiting in the lobby, and the time I had the child, I thanked God. But now she then saw nurses running once again, because at that time now I had to be put on drip just to help me to revitalize my body and to drink something so that I'll have energy. So at that point, they leave me for a bit just to recuperate. After I recuperate, they then take me to another room, like a post-labor room, a post-labor ward, where at that point they put a drip in me. At that point, like, you don't care about I don't like injections, chakuri. Because you can imagine, after a child was born, we're like, oh, great, good. Not knowing that more danger was coming afterwards. But anyway, they put the drip on me. So after putting the drip on me, the drip and then the urine extracted the catheter. So throughout the night, I could literally feel that I was losing a lot of blood and stuff like that. But the following day, like, the blood loss had literally reduced and I was feeling better. I was actually talking to people. And at that point, I just couldn't believe that I was holding our son. Our son, like, after all of that struggle, like, today is 1 week, 1 day old as I'm shooting this, because I didn't want to forget the testimony of how God really came through for me. Yeah. I didn't want to forget, because, like, the more you don't record your testimonies, the easier you begin to forget some of the details. But I just want to thank God. He's the most unproblematic young man. If he drinks his milk, if you check his diaper, he even likes bathing. Like, really, really likes bathing. It doesn't cry when put in water. So I just want to thank God for my mom, who was there for me throughout, the pregnancy, cooking for me, for Kingdom Ecclesia, the same, just checking on me, loving on me. Like, these people love me and they don't even care I'm their pastor. I remember just sending a prayer request to say, guys, please pray for me as I'm facing this. It's an undeniable thing that I am going to have to go through labor. and God was kind and merciful. Even postpartum, because there's a day I just woke up with a very, very absolutely swollen face, like I could not really open my eyes, and was feeling weak in the knees again, and the stitches were really painful. But once again, the following day, I felt so much better. My husband and my mom taking care of me, feeding me, making sure that I'm well taken care of. So I'm so thankful. But like, he truly is a miracle. Our baby is literally a miracle. I mean, all the odds were against him. His mom's body, it was this or that was speaking against his survival. I don't think would have gotten to week 40 if not for the grace of God, you know. Like really a full-time baby, full of hair, energetic. Like in week 1, he's already turning, you know, he's unbothered by a lot of things, can sleep in noise, is sucking very well, producing enough milk for our baby. He's not starving, good poop and all of that. You know, when you go through so much, you appreciate and enjoy the smell of poop because you've been through so much. And it's only God that you can thank for that. And when I look at my son and my husband, I'm like, God, I feel so blessed. I can't believe that, you know, salad like me, like just a weak girl like me, you would bless in such a way. You have blessed me, you have honored me, you have not shamed me, oh Lord. And here I am. I've just seen your faithfulness, your kindness, your goodness. I've seen you over and over and over again. How you love me, how you care for me, even in the difficult times. And I know, like, sometimes for most people, their testimony would be smooth. Mine was absolutely not smooth at all. But at the end of the day, to be able to hold our child, I don't want to lie to you. I'm so thankful. I am super, super thankful. I went through so much, but I'm glad I got to the other side. Even my husband would say the same thing. Like, I can't leave that man. I can't even think of, you know, doing any wrong to him. If I do, just know that it's from a place of just being a human being and fallen nature chasing after me. But my heart honestly honors him because he was there in that labor room. He was there throughout the pregnancy, cleaning, cooking, praying for me, covering me when I couldn't. He would wake up at night, massage me, he would massage my body, he would sit with me in days when I could not sleep, take walks with me, bath me, cook. That man is my hero, and I'm so thankful. Like, I could not have chosen a better partner for myself. So, but just by that, I feel so blessed. I feel so grateful. Psalm 126, verse 5 to 6. It says, those who sow their tears as seeds will reap a harvest with joyful shouts of glee. They may weep as they go out carrying their seed to sow, but they will return with joyful laughter and shouting with gladness as they bring back armloads of blessing and the harvest overflowing. Yeah, I feel like on this one, I sowed in tears. And indeed, I celebrate and joy. I celebrate and joy. And listen, I don't know what you could be going through, what you're waiting for, or the pain you're going through. But this is one of the reasons why I wanted to record my testimony. That no matter what hard things I go through in the near future or far future, that God is with me. God is with me. And just for the gift of community, I'm super thankful. Hey, I'm super thankful. And yeah, to just be holding my son is truly a testimony. And I'm thankful to God. Yeah, that's all, guys. That's my testimony. Now I have to breastfeed my child in peace. So I love you guys. Thank you so much. Hopefully I'll be able to shoot more and more content, for example, content on what I wish I know before getting pregnant. And I just want to thank God even for the midwives. They were God sent. God sent them. They encouraged me, fought for me when all odds were against me. Like, this was giving. You could labor, but at the end get into an operation. So experience the worst of both worlds. But God just came through. God came through. I'm so thankful. I'll forever be thankful. I'll forever be thankful. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.